Hi, and welcome back to a very special edition of EPCC Chef Share Sessions with El Paso Community College Culinary Arts and EPCC TV. I'm Chef Patrick Rosser back with you again, and today we have a great special edition for you. We're on location at the Farmers Market at Ardovino's Desert Crossing, a really wonderful local historic restaurant and venue, not only for a farmers market, but for weddings and events. This is a great place with a lot of rich tradition, local owners trying to source local products. And today we're going to be making a vegetable galette. Now, we don't have all the technical issues ironed out. The train may pass through. You may hear that at some point, but we're just thrilled to have you guys out here so that you can see some of this wonderful property and see what we're doing out in the community to get enrollment, for community outreach, just to be a part of the community that we live in. So thank you for joining us. Hope you like this session, and let us know if there's something you'd like to see on upcoming shows. All right, well, welcome back. And right now what we're gonna start making is our vegetable galette. Now, one of the reasons that I come out here to the farmers market and do these demos for you guys is because I want to demystify ingredients that we might get at the farmers market, but I also want to show maybe a new way to enjoy ingredients that might be familiar to you. Today I'm going to be making a vegetable galette, which is a very easy kind of free-form tart. With that being said, we need to start with our pastry dough. And the pastry dough is a very simple ratio. I'm going to use 4 ounces of all-purpose flour, 4 ounces of butter chilled and cubed, half an ounce of sugar, and a teaspoon of salt, and 4 ounces of water. I'm going to get started on putting that together right now. Now remember, once we make the dough, we need to chill it for at least half an hour. So we've done a little TV magic today, and I have one prepared that I'm going to show you guys how to roll out. We're going to partially cook some of the vegetables that go into the tart, and I'm going to show you start to finish the assembly, and I'm actually baking one off for you guys inside right now so that you can see it and taste it. All right, so let's get started with that pastry dough. I'm going to get dump that ice with me. Dump that ice out. I've got my half cup of water, 4 ounces, and get that chilled bowl. In here I've got my flour and sugar and salt. Let me get it in my bowl. My butter, please. 8 ounces of butter. And I'm just going to start cutting the butter into the flour. And this is going to be a very highly enriched dough. And I've got a little extra flour around here somewhere. Is that bench flour out here? Can I get that, please? All right. And I'm using a pastry cutter for part of that because I want to get that butter cut down into the flour mixture, the dry mix, as quickly as possible. I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to work this with my hands a little bit. And we need to make sure that these ingredients are all really cold when we do this. I had all of this stuff in the freezer before I came out. Thank you. All right, and where's that one? The water? Yeah. And I'm going to add my 4 ounces of water. All right. And this I'm just going to bring together with one hand. I want to try to scrape anything off of the side of the bowl. And if you guys want to take a look at that, we're just bringing this together into a really kind of loose, shaggy dough. Just a cohesive mass, and just keep working it. And I'm kind of working the sides of the bowl too to get any excess flour off of there. Every little bit counts at this point. So once this comes into I'm just using my fingers to roll it around in here. Once this comes into a solid mass, I'm going to take it out. I'm going to put it on my board, and I'm going to flour it, and I'm going to give it a couple of turns. And The reason I'm giving it turns is so that I want it to have a flaky structure in the finished product. So I'm going to flour the top and bottom, and I'm just going to really quickly roll it out in one direction and fold it over itself in a three-way fold. And I'm going to move it. I'm going to put the seam side down. I'm going to go in the opposite direction. And if you guys are welcome to come look at this, you'll see that you can see big chunks of butter in the dough. That's what we're looking for. That's once we get this rolled out, that is going to be what gives us the flakiness, the flaky properties of that. So I'm going to fold this over like that, and that's it. I'm going to try to round it out, kind of pat it, bring it all together, and that's it. It needs to cool down for 30 minutes at least. You can do it overnight or you can freeze it, and then we'll be able to roll this out. All right. Any questions about the dough? Wasn't that easy? Is that something you could do very easily at home? Can you bring me the other dough from inside too? All right. The next thing I'm going to show you is the prepared dough, the one that's been chilled already. I'm going to roll that out into shape, and what Aaron is going to be doing while I'm doing that is Aaron's going to be cooking the vegetables that we have selected for this tart. Let me wipe my hands off really quick, and I'll go through the selection of the vegetables with you. All right, so we have shallots and leeks to give kind of a savory quality, mushrooms, asparagus, zucchini, yellow squash, and eggplant. We've also got some heirloom tomatoes that we got from George, a little bit of okra, a little bit baby okra that we shaved very thinly, and some shaved red onions that are not going to get cooked. They're going to be put on top raw, and then it's going to go into the oven, get baked, and we're going to garnish it with microgreens that I got from the green tent behind you, or Groen. And I've also got a little vegan cheese, some vegan queso fresco from the green ingredient as a garnish for you. Now, when we cook those vegetables down, we need to bind them somehow. What we definitely don't want when we make this tart is that all of these vegetables come out kind of half cooked. So that's why we're cooking them ahead of time. We're also going to bind them with a little mascarpone and a little Gruyere cheese to give it some smoothness, but also some sharpness. With that being said, we'll go ahead and get started. Aaron's going to start cooking the vegetables, and I'm going to start sheeting this pie dough. Now, this pie dough at this point has stiffened up significantly. It's not so pliable, which is great. I'm going to go ahead and use my bench flour and get some on both sides, spread some on my work surface. And what I like to do with doughs is gently give them a pound. It makes them a lot easier to work with if you just loosen them up a little bit. You don't have to struggle so hard, all right? So that's done. Let me get a little more flour on top, and I'm going to start sheeting this. I want this to be a circle, so I'm going to pre-shape it. Just kind of move things into shape, and just kind of go from the center out and try to form that circle. It kind of had square edges when I began, so it's a little tricky, but with these tarts, it's very easy to get something that looks great, even if you don't think it's going to come out beautiful. They usually do. And I'm going to show you with a folding technique how to make the top of these look great. And I hope that what I showed you with the dough was simple enough to where it's not intimidating to make at home. This is a really simple kind of dough recipe. All pie doughs are really simple. The main thing to remember is just keep everything cold. Keep everything cold and make sure that you rest it in between the times that you're handling it. And you always have to make sure you have enough flour underneath it. You never want this to stick to your table, because what that will cause is the butter to smear and the dough to tear. Do we have that other half sheet? Good, perfect. I'm gonna get a little flour on top, flip it over. And what I'm looking for is about an 1/8 inch thickness on this. And it's pretty simple if you got a little practice, just an 1/8 of an inch. I'm just gonna feel for thick spots and move a little bit of that dough out of the way. It's pretty warm out here already, so I can feel this dough kind of getting slack just by hand. And you may want to chill it down if it warms up during the rolling process. But, all right, so this looks good. We've got about a 14-inch round approximately. So at this point, we're ready to start filling. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move this onto a half sheet pan until these vegetables get done, and then we're just gonna fill it, all right? I'm gonna hold off on that for a second, and I'm gonna, if you guys wanna come and see the vegetables cooking. So we've got all of these beautiful vegetables here. Got a little Japanese eggplant, zucchini, yellow squash, and look at that, how beautiful and vibrant that yellow squash is. We've got asparagus, cremini mushrooms, shallots, and leeks. So this is gonna be a really nice, savory presentation. We just wanna get all these medallions separated. And I'm gonna do a little more seasoning in there, salt, pepper, and a little red chili flakes, because who doesn't like red chili? And I just want these to start cooking. I don't want to soften these vegetables too much. I just want them started, because remember, this is gonna go into a 375-degree oven. Just trying to break all this up. Right. So I'm gonna let Aaron finish that now. One of the things that I wanna do for this tart is I'm gonna put a base in there of potatoes. So these potatoes have been boiled, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a base for this tart of something hearty. We want something hearty on the bottom to kind of hold all of those vegetables on top. So I'm just gonna use my mandolin and slice these potatoes onto here, directly on, and I'll arrange them in a second. And it doesn't matter if they crush out a little bit, that way I know they're cooked, right? We're gonna get those on there. Let me get another one. Get a good shaped one. And these are waxy potatoes, so they don't lose their shape. They're not gonna dissolve in the presence of moisture, so they will have some presence in the finished product. So that's that. I'm just gonna kind of arrange them in a layer. And then we're gonna put those cooked vegetables right on top of this. You wanna leave a margin around the edge of about a third. All the way around. You want to fill the middle third and leave about a third, you can maybe a little less, all the way around. All right, so when looking at this, you want to make sure that you leave room, because we're going to fold that dough over. Okay, all right, now right behind me, Aaron is finishing the vegetables with a little mascarpone cheese and some Gruyere cheese. The mascarpone is going to give a really nice smoothness and bind everything. The Gruyere is going to give just enough sharpness to make everything interesting. Once that's done, we're gonna put that vegetable mixture on here. But before we do that, I need to slide this onto my half tray, and I'm just gonna make it real easy. kind of fold everything over and just pick the whole thing up and then open it back up. No harm, no foul, right? And everything's pretty much in place. So once that veg mixture gets finished, we're gonna put that on here and we're gonna top it with sliced red onions, fresh heirloom tomato quarters, a little bit of finely sliced okra, and some of that wonderful cotija vegan cheese. Okay, that's good. That's good, just give it a... Does anyone have any questions about this? No? The gentleman in the green? He's supposed to have questions? He's busy. Perfect. All right. So Aaron's going to bring that veg mix over, and we don't have to put all of this in, but we're going to put a good amount in. What may look like too much. And that pan that I gave Aaron, super heavy. Let's say that, okay? All right, now if you guys wanna come in a little closer to take a look at this, you are more than welcome to. Now, preferably, I would have liked to have that vegetable mixture cooled just a little bit, all right? The next part of this process is we're gonna get these tomatoes in there, and this thing's gonna get really big. And I want all of these beautiful tomatoes in there. And I'm just gonna kind of mound everything up. And then I'm gonna do my beautiful thinly sliced onions. I'm gonna go on top with those. This one was very mild, I checked it. I checked, I made sure if it was really strong, I was gonna cook it down. So, and then I've got this beautiful baby okra that we sliced very thin on the mandolin, and we're just gonna kind of dump that on top. Because you know what happens to okra if you cook it and like kind of long and slow, it tends to slime out. But this cook will kind of help it stay dry and not get so slimy. So at this point, I'm ready to do my folds on my galette, right? So I'm gonna start over, I'm gonna push in here just a little bit because I need a little room there, but I'm gonna start folding over and then stretching a little bit, fold and stretch, fold and stretch, fold and stretch. Really simple preparation, and you see how mounded up it is? That's perfect because we want, the reason we do this style is so with the dough is so that it holds its shape, right? So you've got this big mound, and during the cooking process, this is gonna flatten out some. I mean, it's, you know, it's gonna seek its level, and what we want to do is have the perfect encapsulation, and I can push down just a little bit, and I've got an egg wash here that we're gonna use, and the egg wash is gonna help it brown up beautifully. We could sprinkle some kosher salt on the outside after we egg wash it, or whatever we like. I'm just gonna get this egg washed and pop it in the oven. Well, it's going to be moist. We want it to be moist, but we don't want it to be wet. So that's one of the reasons we use that binder of the mascarpone and the Gruyere, so that that will help bind it and hold that moisture. The potatoes on the bottom, the dough itself, you know, once in the oven, it's going to hold everything in. It may be, you know, wet on the inside, but we need that moisture. We're gonna see when we cut it if it leaks out. All right, so all I would do with this is pour a little olive oil on top and pop it in the oven, 375 degrees for at least 30 minutes, maybe 40. Now remember, everything in here, for the most part, is partially cooked. The items that aren't, we don't want to get a lot of heat on them. We just want enough on there to make them interesting, all right? Does anybody have any questions? The guy in green? Okay, okay, all right. You better, okay. All right, so we're gonna take this in and bake it off, and we got our TV Magic ready over here. Okay, is it over? All right, that is this all cooked off, right? So we're gonna get some of that vegan cheese on here. And our microgreens. And we've got a variety of microgreens. And we want plenty of this on it. I want, yeah, a little bit of everything, why not? And like I said, yes, it might be a little wet on the inside. You know what, let me cut it first. Okay. And then we will, yeah, I'm just gonna do this. There, that's easier, thanks. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the interior of this. It's still pretty hot, but I know most people are pressed for time out here. It's getting hot, obviously. And I know you guys are getting hungry, so we're gonna take a look at this real quickly. And I'm going to pull a slice out, and then we'll cut some up. There we go. We got a beautiful summer vegetable galette, and it is not weeping out at all. Beautiful product. So what do you guys think? Is something you could make at home? Yes. Very easy. Okay, great. Now, if you guys will give me, bear with me, give me a second. We'll go get some disposable ware so we can give out a few samples of this. And in about 30 minutes or so, we'll have that other one too, okay? Well, thank you guys for coming out and checking out this demonstration at the Farmers Market at Ardovino's Desert Crossing and supporting El Paso Community College. We are part of the community, and we want to be out here with you, showing you how to cook better and healthier for your life. All right, we're sitting down now with Robert Ardovino, co-owner of Ardovino's Desert Crossing in Sunland Park, New Mexico. Robert, I just wanted to know from you, what has your experience been with El Paso Community College Culinary Arts, its graduates and students?
I've been fortunate enough to be on the advisory committee for well over 8 years now, which is exciting because we get to help direct the direction of the college. We've always been fortunate enough to have students in and out of the kitchen when we can, and our chef right now, our head chef, is a graduate from EPCC.
That's great. Now, you talked about being on the advisory committee and being able to steer the direction of the program. What are some industry trends that you've noticed that you've been able to bring from a real world situation of owning a restaurant to the college and bring that message that we can dispel to the students?
Well, I was on the committee when we started talking about gardens and how important it is to get students' hands in the dirt. And that came up very quickly once we did, and it was nice that the community college got to have greenhouses because of it. They had outdoor growing plots, gardens everywhere, and when we started talking about the hydroponics, that worked out as well.
That's awesome, yes, and we do have a great greenhouse area with the aquaponics and the outdoor garden. Also, Robert, I guess what I'm wanting to find out from you is your experience in the restaurant with students. What have you noticed about the EPCC curriculum and how it prepares students for the real world?
Well, I think curriculum and students coming in as coming in a way that they've been in kitchens. They've used all the tools. They're they need to use in a kitchen has been such a benefit. Before the program, we would have very green people coming off the streets, learning how to chop. Since then, we've noticed just the elevation of the standard of cooking as a whole in the industry, which is exciting.
Okay. And I'm assuming you've had employees that have come from other proprietary culinary schools. Would you say that the education that students from EPCC receive is on par with those other culinary schools that may be outside of this area?
Yeah, I think there's definitely levels of technique and levels of instruction that matter. We've had all the way from first year graduates, even kids who have been in the program and haven't graduated, are far and above beyond where we see from others. And then of course we've had people that have gone all the way through and graduated and come into the kitchen, and they're very much at home, which is what you want.
That's awesome. Thank you for saying that. And I'm just going to hit you with kind of a left field question. What do you see as being some of the big trends in this industry that are on the horizon that students would need to pay attention to?
You know, I think students need to understand that a lot of the kitchens nowadays are actually in the dining rooms. Mm-hmm. So hygiene's super important. Yes. And as you all know as chefs, hygiene's very important. So the trend of getting out of the back of the house kitchen and into the front of the house, maybe even working with a table and doing tableside. Right. I think that's coming back in the industry. People want the experience, so that's something.
What a great perspective. Robert, thanks for sitting down with us.
Yeah, always.
Good to see you again,
always,
sir.
Always,
right.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, we are back with Chef Danny Calleros, the executive chef here at Ardovino's Desert Crossing, who is, as a matter of fact, a graduate of EPCC Culinary Arts. Welcome, Danny. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Chef Rosser.
Danny and I have known each other a long, long time.
Yes.
And Danny, I just want to know, what has your experience been with EPCC Culinary Arts, and how did it prepare you for the industry?
It gave me all the tools and information that I need to really succeed. A lot of the times I question myself. It's like, am I really going to use this information in the real world? And the answer is yes. 100%. I go back to. I even have all my textbooks that I still refer to. So keep your textbooks. I would recommend.
That's awesome. Yeah, I tell my students that all the time. This will be your Bible. So, Danny, as executive chef of a restaurant, utilizing local products and trying to work within the community, what's your experience been hiring EPCC students and graduates to come in and work under you in the framework that you have here?
There's a lot of ambitious students that come in with expectations, and then they meet reality. Within the first 2 weeks or a month, they realize that it is what they expected or it isn't. Here we have a very high standard, and we hold everybody to that standard, including myself. And I do put a lot of pressure on them. A lot of the time, these students do succeed, and it's great to see that the program is still, cranking out very developed, well-rounded chefs that I enjoy working with.
Danny, I know you're doing some really interesting things here in-house. You're doing your own pastas, some of your own charcuterie. Could you tell us a little bit about that? Some of the interesting and new, different techniques you're employing on your menu?
Here in the restaurant in Ardovino's Desert Crossing, we try to be as hands-on, as homemade. If we can make it, we're going to try at least once. Sometimes things don't work, sometimes things are a failure, but that doesn't stop us. There's no boundaries, there's no rules. I always push everybody to really be creative, and we're doing fermentation, we're doing dry age, we're building pastas, we're doing preservation in the moment. We're in the middle of trying to build the larder, so that way we have just all the vegetables we're growing from our garden or what we're getting from the farmer's market, just preserved. In moments when we don't have, I would like to have some nice asparagus in the middle of the winter, and it'd be nice if they're not pickled but preserved.
Right.
So those are great. So then that does open up a new base of just ingredients. This year because of the pandemic, a lot of the things I did have downstairs in the basement in the larder are 2 years old. So I've been pulling out 2-year-old kimchis, 2-year-old meads, 2-year-old sauerkraut, and the flavor has just developed. It's been really cool to see all those things just, come up out of the basement after I forgot about them for a whole year.
That's awesome. I love coming out here and seeing what you have going on. And if you've never been out here, there's several gardens. There's a chicken coop where they're harvesting eggs on a daily basis for use in the restaurant. I can't say enough good things about what I see happening out here under Danny because it's innovative, it's resourceful, bringing old techniques to new ingredients and vice versa. We see a lot of innovation happening out here. It's a great place to come eat and to come hang out. What do you see as industry trends happening in the next 5 years that students would need to keep an eye on if they're thinking about enrollment in culinary arts?
Wow, trends that are, I think having a healthier, happier way of living is not a trend, but I think a new transition into what cooking is. I remember in the past, a lot of the stuff was pretty hearty and very deep fried and very basted in butter. And I now myself am enjoying a more natural, healthier, more rounded out, and like true to the flavor of ingredients diet. And I like to also contribute that to what we're doing on plate. So that also helps me look for quality ingredients.
That's awesome.
So I think that is definitely something, not a trend, but evolving to that. I think it's a good step forward.
Okay. All right. So last question, Danny. If you had one piece of advice to give to a student or a prospective student who's thinking about enrolling in culinary school, what would that be?
Advice. Man, sometimes I almost gave up on school. There was moments that I didn't see the point. But I just kept going. I kept pushing myself, kept pushing, and that's what it's like at work. Sometimes there's days that just don't go like how you plan. One of the things that repeated in my head, one of the chefs from Noma, his name is Thomas Friebel. He says, every day come to fail. Because if you succeeded every day, then it would be pretty boring. So every day I come to prepare myself to fail because I want to succeed. So I'm just ready to handle any situation and try to solve any problems. So, and I think that prepares you a lot for every day, because every day in the kitchen is not the same.
That's a great perspective.
Yeah, new challenges every single day.
Well, thanks, Danny. That kind of mirrors what I tell my students all the time, is that we're going to learn more from our failures than we are from our successes. And we are just about out of time. Thanks you for joining us for another episode of EPCC Chef Share. We'll see you next time, and hope you enjoyed this. Goodbye.
Thank you.
I'm Chef Rosser. We appreciate you joining us for this very special edition at the Ardovino's Desert Crossing Farmers Market. Now today we made vegetable galettes outside, and we had a conversation with Robert Ardovino and Chef Danny Galletos. I can't thank them enough for coming and sitting down with us and talking about their experience with community college culinary arts and with our students. It means a lot to me to be able to come here and sit down with people that I know in the industry and talk about the program. We love this community and we love being out in it, and this has just been a really special experience. Thank you all for joining us for this, and we'll see you next time.